Hi everyone, my name's Hayley. I'm a Christian, a wife, a mum and a teaching assistant at a school in Stockton. I have a lovely family, 2 great children, a part of the thriving church family, part of the leadership here, and on the surface everything just looks great. I want to share with you today some of the recent experience about the battle that I faced with my mental health after the birth of my son around 20 months ago. This is something that is really hard for me to talk about, but I'm at a point now where I can speak about it because I want to be able to support others. When Ezra was born in July 2018, it was supposed to be one of the most exciting times of my life. I already had a little girl, Eden, who was about to turn 2. And the arrival of our second child seemed the most amazing thing in the world. And of course it was. For the first few weeks we had all the excitement, people coming to visit us, lots of laughter and visitors and family cuddles. The fact that it was summer just made everything feel a lot better too. It was exhausting, as you would expect, not just having a newborn but a toddler as well. It wasn't until about a month later when I realised that something just wasn't right with me. The tiredness wasn't getting any easier. The joy and excitement of a new baby had turned into anxiety and fear about going out of the house with 2 little ones on my own and being seen by others. I felt my control had been taken away. From the security of my 4 walls out of my home, that was my security place. The happiness of my new son was replaced with a sense of sadness that I couldn't quite explain. At my 8-week checkup with a midwife, the alarm started to be raised. We went through a questionnaire and it showed that I was displaying signs of postnatal depression. I had previously done this questionnaire and they just put it down to like baby blues and feeling just like you've just had a new baby. At this point I was referred to counselling, and something that I'd never experienced before, something that I'd never really had to put myself into. It's difficult to describe how I felt, but I want to share with you because, like all mental health issues, it's important to speak out when you can and share your experience to help others. Life seemed to be getting out of control for me. I had these feelings just where bad things would just happen all of the time. If I took the children out, people might think bad things of me, or I might not be able to look after both of them. The craziest thing was that none of this actually made any sense. The things that I was doing most, the things that I wanted to do the most, caused me the greatest stress and anxiety. I wanted to go out and continue my life that I'd developed with Eden. I wanted to continue doing the things we always did, but my anxiety levels rose and I felt out of control. I pushed myself many times and this just ended up with me being in a low place. A few examples stand out. I remember when my mum was coming round and helping me with the children whilst Gav was at work. She did lots of washing for me, she helped me cook, she helped me look after the children, but all I did was just get madder and madder with her. I told her to leave and go home, I didn't want her here. And that was so strange for me. I would never been someone that's dealt with bad temper, but in that situation all I could feel was that she just thought, you can't do this on your own, you need somebody. Other things like going to church suddenly became a real difficulty for me. I obviously love being part of church and it was like a second family. I love being around others and especially love connecting with God and worshipping Him, but it seemed like that was even difficult and that was a chore. Lovely people at church would offer to hold Ezra and give him a cuddle so I could enjoy the service. Instead of that feeling like a blessing, in my head I started telling myself that they thought I couldn't cope. I would be singing the songs but didn't feel close to God at all. It felt like He didn't understand how I was feeling. I couldn't connect with Him, my head was just full of fuzziness. I've been a Christian for a long time, but this battle of postnatal depression really affected my faith. Even though I never stopped going to church physically, I was always present there, as I had the encouragement to do so. I was going to different meetings but I just felt empty. This is an important thing. Like with things like depression, from the outside it probably all looks great, but on the inside my head was in a completely different place. I knew God loved me, I knew that I was a child of God and accepted and cared for. I knew in my head, but I couldn't believe it in my heart. It didn't seem real to me in that moment. I couldn't put it into practice to help me get through the feelings of spiralling into a low place. Something just stopped me from applying all that to my life. As the weeks and months went on, I visited my GP, and after battling the thought of going on medication, the thing that I really didn't want to do, it was the final straw that made something definite for me. I just didn't want to accept it, and I wanted it to all go away. I agreed to get antidepressants and continue to attend the counselling sessions. It was important to highlight how helpful all of that was. One of the other things that really helped me, though, having Christian friends who supported me and listened to me, often sitting with me as I cried my eyes out, they supported me through it. I remember some friends coming over to us on an evening, and I just cried most of the time as Gavin and I tried to process what was happening. Other friends were checking on me, knowing that I wasn't myself. For me, that is an amazing thing now looking back, even at the time if I didn't realise it was helping me, but now looking back, when you're having a hard time, when you're not feeling yourself, when your faith is struggling, it's important to remember that God puts us into family. He gives us community that is something we need to draw closer to and not further away from. The most tempting thing to do in that situation is to push people away and ignore the difficulties. But actually, I found that being open and honest with people so they could advise me and pray for me was the most helpful thing. The worst thing I could do was just to pretend that everything was okay. I tried to do that and it didn't work. I remember waking up some mornings and just thinking, has this all gone away? Is it a dream? Is this actually reality? And then it would kick in. I think that same principle goes for God as well. You can be honest with him. I found trying to hide how I was feeling from God is pointless. Pretending my faith was strong and that I was clinging on to him was just lying to myself, when God knew anyway. Even though I had months where I didn't pray, I didn't listen to worship music, I didn't even open my Bible, despite my own efforts, God didn't leave me. He accepted me as I was and was still there for me. It reminds me of the story of the prodigal son going back to his dad in shame and disappointment, and the dad running to greet him with love and acceptance. That sense of God there for me, with wanting to hug me and despite my own feelings, was just amazing. So here we are, 20 months later. It felt like it was really important to share this experience, but definitely this is not me saying it's all fixed and sorted, because it's definitely not. For mums, you don't have to feel like you have it all together. God puts us in a family and community so that we can have people to help us carry the load. Anyone else who struggles in this whole area of mental health, hopefully you can relate to this too. God doesn't want you to move away and hide away from others, but actually be real, open and honest with others in your life. Seeking professional help is another important thing, as I struggled with that so much, but you need that as well as spiritual support and guidance. I really battled with that fact of having to seek professional help, as I begged for it to be healed and just to go away. I didn't want it to happen to me. Most importantly though, he is faithful to you despite how you feel, despite your experience in that moment. If you have accepted Jesus, you are still accepted and loved. You are still his child, and he remains faithful to you. He will always be there with open arms to welcome you back. You don't have to pretend with God. He knows every detail about you, all of your thoughts, the struggles you face, and he loves you the same. What an encouraging thing to think and know as I look back on the difficult times of my life.